Today's lesson will learn about how we could evaluate the economic outcomes of projects. So remember, for our term project for CE22, what we intend to do is una, to identify a problem, pangalawa, to identify potential solutions, and thirdly, no, we will evaluate the solutions in terms of their economic merit. And para magawa natin yun, we need to be able to calculate the or estimate the economic outcomes, so the value of the economic outcomes of the alternatives that we identified. So yeah, at the end of this lecture, ito yung mga goals natin. So number one, we must be able to recognize the pertinent considerations and different types of engineering economic decisions. Secondly, identify which cost estimation techniques is most applicable for a particular situation. There are different types of cost estimation approaches and techniques. And depending on the level of refinement that you want, no, meron tayong mga different approaches na magandang gamitin. And then of course, it's also our goal to be able to estimate project costs and project benefits. Una, we've been mentioning the term alternatives since the beginning, since the orientation. When we say alternatives, it only means these are the options that you've identified. So to address a problem or an identified need. In decision making or in decision science, the final choice should be within the set of your identified alternatives. And then alternatives are said to be mutually exclusive if you will only need to select one, or if the decision would mean that if you choose one, then you forgo all the other alternatives in the pool. No? For instance, I'm not sure kung medyo nakagala na kayo na, but if all the restrictions are lifted, what's the first place you'd visit? Can you type them in the chat box? Even when the restrictions are lifted and wala na COVID scare, what's the first place you'd go for a visit? Anyone? Sa ICE daw si Sir Amiel. Yung iba, UP campus. Ayan. Gala sa UP. All right. So of all the potential choices that you'd go to, you can only select one, diba? Kasi first place yan, yung una mong pupuntahan. Now you can go to another place afterwards, but there can only be one place you'd go to. So this type of decision involves having mutually exclusive alternatives. All right. Other examples of a decision with mutually exclusive alternatives. Sinong papakasalan mo? So in the Philippines, isa lang naman pwede mong pakasalan. So yeah, so that's an alternative with mutually exclusive alternatives. Now, it's also important that we consider, so ngayon nagde-define lang tayo ng mga terminologies. No? So in decision making, it is important that we consider all the relevant factors that come into play that would possibly influence your decision. Kaya naman, no, it's important that we consider all the costs, all the benefits na pwede nating ma-incur o mangyari during the lifespan of a project, structure, and equipment, or a system. By life cycle cost, we mean that these are costs that we foresee we would incur from the beginning to the end of the project. As an example, no, yung car ownership, it doesn't stop at the purchase of the car, correct? So kapag iniisip natin yung economic outcomes sa atin no pagbili ng kotse, it doesn't stop at how much you'd pay to purchase a car, correct? So what other cash flows do we expect with car ownership aside from the purchase cost? Anyone? Type sa chat box, or you may turn on your mic. Okay, so correct, no? Maintenance, repair, fuel, diba? Kasi of course you would have to for you to be able to use it, you would need to purchase fuel. Insurance, yes. Um, and how about at the end of the useful life? May cash flow expected ba tayo? Yes, if you choose to resell, so the resale value, it's also a cash flow. It could be positive. It could reverse some of those cash outflows, no? Or maybe the scrap value kung nilubos-lubos mo talaga yung kung nilubos-lubos mo yung lifespan niya. That's life cycle cost. As I was saying, no, so the purchase cost is just the tip of the iceberg. There are a lot of other costs that we expect to incur during the lifespan of a project. Also, it involves operation. So, what are the costs that we need to be able to operate or to make that item or asset functional? Service and maintenance, so for continued functionality, but also some of the hidden costs that in most cases we fail to consider. For instance, ano yung mga environmental and social impacts, diba? And how about the decommissioning? So what happens at the end of the project life? Let me give you an example. No? So yung mga infrastructure projects, typically ang tinitignan dyan would be how much the project would cost, how much we would need to maintain the project or keep it serviceable, how much revenue it will generate once we operate it. But it stops there. But one big chunk of impact that we fail to consider is how much would that impact the environment? How much would that impact the people who live near or at the area where the project would be um, implemented, whether positively or negatively? Isa rin medyo clear, madaling example ng isang madaling example ng use of life cycle cost to compare alternatives. Ito. So which light bulb should we use? So sorry, this example is in dollars, no, kasi yun yung may data tayo. But an incandescent bulb typically costs $50, so 25 pesos. A compact fluorescent lamp would possibly cost approximately 200 pesos. No? And LED bulb, like emitting diode, na bulb would cost approximately $25. So pamahal na pamahal. Pero, syempre, sabi nila, may trade-offs naman. No? You get more for spending more. Ngayon, ang gusto nating malaman is whether or not that additional peso or dollar that we spend for that particular product gives us commensurate na returns. So yun, so we do not just consider how much it costs at the beginning or upfront. We should consider all the implications of the decision at hand and how much they're worth. So for instance, yung common na 60-watt incandescent bulb, so it's kind of energy in terms of energy use, medyo malaki yung kinakain niya. So it uses for an 80 lumens na lighting, it uses about 60 watts. The one bulb lasts for 1,200 hours. Now we compare that with, let's say, a common 14-watt bulb na compact fluorescent light. So it only uses 14 watts for the same lighting, no, for the same lumens. And then yung ambient LED bulb uses even less power. Tapos mas mahaba din yung lifespan niya, or you can use it longer. Now, ano yung napansin nyo dito sa comparison na ito? So, una, we can identify the ang tawag dito, the implications of the decision at hand. No? So, una, yung cost, of course, initial cost, na na-compare na natin in the previous slide. Pangalawa na pwede nating tignan would be the power that they use. No? Kasi power translates to, or yung wattage nila translates to power consumption. And then yung lifespan nila would then translate to more bulbs which we need to use in order to cover a specific na time period. No? If in big quantities, this may also entail substantive disposal costs. Now, yung isa pang gusto ko i-point out dito, note that when we compared yung power consumption nila, we compared them for the same, no, na outcome, which is 800 lumens. No? And when we're counting yung ano, or when we're comparing yung lifespan ng nung ating mga light bulbs, no, we compare them for a specific na time frame at kinompute natin kung ilan yung gagamitin natin. No? So there's a need to ensure that the outcomes are comparable so that we can easily compare the inputs. All right. Is everything clear so far? So if it's clear, can I get a party popper react? Ayan, mukhang clear naman. Next tayo. So cash and book cost. Cash, ito yung cost as we know it. So it involves actual changing hands of money or any currency. No? So kapag bumili ka ng pagkain sa fast food, ganyan, bayad ka, that's cash cost. Question, kapag credit card ba or GCash ba yung ginamit mo, is it still cash cost? What do you think? Answer in the chat box. Type your answer in the chat box. Correct, no? Yes pa rin. Even if it's digital, even if it's check, no? There's still an actual trading of value, and therefore that's still considered cash cost. How about yung mga sinauna like barter? Do you think cash cost pa rin yun? Kunyari, I wish to purchase a horse, ganyan. Tapos ang pambayad natin, 5 kabang bigas. Ganyan. Cash cost pa rin ba yun? Yes, yes, we can still consider cash cost. Kasi parang ang nangyari lang doon, nilagyan mo ng equivalent na cash value yung commodity, in which case yung 5 kabang bigas at saka yung yung horse, no. And then the act of trading them is actually parang is akin to exchanging cash values. All right, so cash cost yun. The opposite of cash cost is book cost, no? So book cost, ibig sabihin walang actual transfer of money. The simplest way to explain book cost is that may nabawas na value pero walang pinuntahan yung value, unlike yung cash cost. Pag may nabawas sa pera mo, definitely may pinuntahan yung pera mo na ibang kamay or ibang bank account, no? So with book cost, may reduction in the value, but nobody benefits from that. Nobody would have cash inflow as as a consequence of your value outflow, no? So example nito would be depreciation. No? So for instance, you purchased a vehicle. No? If you purchase a vehicle, kunyari, magkano na ngayon ang ano nga ba itong nasa photo natin? Sino nakakaalam kung magkano na ngayon ng yung typical na pickup truck? Meron ba na nagtitingin? I think Hilux yata. Hilux ba ito? Or, no. F-150. Anyway, sabihin na lang natin 1.5 million. No. So if it's 1.5 million when you purchase it, and assuming iniwan mo lang siya sa garahe mo for 1 year without using it, tapos di mo pa inalis yung plastic, would you be able to sell it for the same amount next year? Fast, are you with me? So, mabibenta pa ba natin? Let's say we purchase a pickup truck for 1.5 million. Tapos, iuwi natin siya sa garage lang. Tapos, doon lang siya for the entire year. We don't even use it. We don't remove yung mga covers niya. And then we decided to sell it the next year. Would we be able to sell for the same amount? No, diba? Hindi na natin mabibenta. Would we be able to sell it higher or at a lower price? Lower, no? Bakit kaya ganun? Plus 30% agad, sabi ni Ron. No, bakit kaya ganun? Wala namang kumuha ng value, di ba? Pero second hand siya kasi may transfer of ownership na. It's an older model, so there are newer models that could possibly be sold at the same price. No? So so yung asset mo, when you purchase it, it's worth 1.5 million. The next year, it's only worth, say, 1.2 million. No, nabawasan. Sabihin na natin, kaya pa natin siya ibenta ng 1.2. But that's still very idealistic. But, yeah. So, di ba, nabawasan ka ng parang asset value of, say, 300,000. Pero wala namang nag-benefit from that. Wala nakakuha ng 300,000 from you. So that's an example of a book cost. All right. So is that illustration clear? That illustration is clear. Can I get a heart react? Ayan. So thank you. Right. So I hope there's atin yung distinction between cash cost and book cost. So we both consider this in economic analysis. Yung cash cost, ginagamit natin siya in, of course, analyzing cash flows. Yung book cost, it is important for us to consider book costs when we need to consider taxation as part of cash flows. Okay? So doon lang natin siya typically ginagamit. Again, we consider book costs only when we deal with taxes as part of cash flows. Now, opportunity cost. No? So it's also important that we consider opportunity cost when analyzing the economic outcomes. When analyzing the economic outcomes of a decision or a project. No? So when we say opportunity cost, it's the worth of the foregone opportunities or alternatives, no? And that is actually a cost to you, diba? Yung mga, let's say, mga opportunities na pinakawalan mo because you chose something else, correct? Nakaka-relate ba, class, yung mga yung mga nakaka-relate? Can I get a party popper react ulit? So for instance, today we have a space synchronous lesson on CE22. No, so between 9 and 10, meron kayong options or alternatives with which you can spend your time on. 'Di ba, class? So yung 1 hour duration na yon, you can sit in a synchronous class listening to some boring lecture in engineering economics, no? But on the other hand, you also could have sat in front of your TV and finished one episode of the Lincoln Lawyer, 'di ba? So meron kang mga or pwedeng one additional hour of sleep for you, no? So if you go for one, then it automatically tells you that you need to forgo all the other options that you have, no? So if you attend the class, if you choose to attend the class, then you forgo an additional hour of sleep. Yes? Or you also forgo yung opportunity mo to watch one episode of your favorite Netflix series. Diba? So these are what we call opportunity costs. All right? On the other hand, no, so yun, kung hindi tayo nag-attend, hindi natin narinig yung lecture. So that meron din tayong opportunity cost. Anyway, clear ba sa atin itong concept of opportunity cost? If it's clear, can I get a thumbs up? Thumbs up naman. All right. So my question pala dito, does book cost include the reduction of the value of money due to inflation? The answer is no. Kasi yung face value, with inflation, the face value remains the same. No? It's just the purchasing power of that money that diminishes. So inflation is quite a bit different concept, which we'll also tackle in CE22. I hope that answers the question. Nasagot ba, Emmanuel? So yung book cost, meron tayong reduction in the diba, asset value. With inflation, wala kang reduction in the value. It's just that you're able to use you're just able to purchase less for the same amount of money. I hope na-clarify. Next tayo. So ito na actually yung so pag-isipan nyo na lang, hindi ko na sasagutin, no? So had you decided to watch the newest na na episode dun sa favorite K-drama nyo or whatever Netflix series, what would have been its opportunity cost? By the way, let me just clarify that when quantifying opportunity cost, no, you only need to consider the highest valued opportunity forgone. Hindi naman kasi sila parang simultaneously fino-forgo mo, diba? So let's say we had 3 alternatives presented earlier. Sabi natin, no, attending the synchronous class of CE22, watching the latest episode of your favorite Netflix series, or additional 1 hour of sleep. No? So you try to evaluate the economic outcomes nila, and then the opportunity cost for choosing one would be the higher of the worth of the two other foregone alternatives. All right. So yun lang, something to think about. No? Next naman, sunk cost, no? When we say sunk cost, no, so these are past costs, so whether money, time, and effort that cannot be recovered. So na siya, na gastos mo na siya, and these are not relevant anymore for any decision making. All right. So in general, all costs incurred in the past are not relevant for decision making. So this is according to Arks and Blummer in 1985. Now, so the psychology of sunk costs. Now, let me just briefly explain why sunk costs are or should not be taken into consideration anymore. No, so una, remember when we define engineering economics or economics in general, we mentioned that actually with economics, we're concerned about the prospective outcomes of a decision at hand. Di ba? Naalala nyo? Prospective outcome. Let's say today, we have to make a decision. Tapos yung decision na yan would definitely have um, a consequence of worth in the future. Diba? So, yun yung gusto nating i-analyze. Yung mga nangyari na in the past cannot be reversed anymore. So, hindi mo na siya kayang i-alter. Diba? So as an example, kunyari, you plan to get a bicycle. Sino sa atin dito yung nagbabike? Ganun ba? Ano na lang siguro, thumbs up kung nagbabike kayo. Let's say you plan to get a bicycle. Tapos, may nadaanan kang isang bicycle store. Tapos, may last piece sila na nagustuhan mo. Last na na stock nung gusto mong model. And so sabi mo, okay, I'll pay 2,000 pesos to reserve this model, pero mag-ikot-ikot pa ako kasi titingin ako kasi baka mawala. Pero reserve ko na to kasi baka maunahan pa ako. So you pay 2,000 pesos. The bicycle is worth say 50,000. And so 50,000 pesos, you made a down payment of 2,000 pesos just to reserve. Ngayon, umikot ka, nakakita ka ng another store selling the same bicycle for 49,000 pesos, kunyari. Ayan, for 49,000 pesos yung bicycle na iyon. No? So, which one would you go for? Would you buy the 49,000 peso bicycle? Or would you go back dun sa pinanggalingan mong store na 50,000 yung bicycle pero nabayaran mo na yung 2,000? Clear by illustration? Right, no? So, ang decision natin at hand is not between a 50,000 peso bicycle versus a 49,000 peso bicycle anymore. Diba? It's between paying the balance of 48,000 dun sa unang store na pinuntahan mo versus the 49,000 dun sa new store na nakita natin. Yung 2,000 pesos doesn't matter anymore kasi nga naibayad mo na siya as reservation fee doon sa So hindi mo na siya pwedeng bawiin and it's irreversible. Correct? No, so that 2,000 pesos is now considered sunk cost. Right? Another example, yung nabanggit ko rin during our orientation or the first meeting. No? So typically, you would try to cling to an old stuff, old equipment, because you've already spent a lot, no? Spent a lot on it, no? Maintaining and keeping it serviceable. Pero with engineering, economics, no? Lahat ng mga ginastos po in the past, actually wala na yung matter do sa decision at hand. No? Ang concern ka na lang, if you cling on to this equipment, or if you retain this equipment, magkano yung gagastusin mo in the future to further maintain it or to further keep it serviceable versus kapag bumili ka ng bago. Yung question pala, may question dito, again, send via the chat. In total, 50K yung cost ng before, pero pag binay yung 49,000, magiging 51K. Yes, kaya nga doon tayo sa original, 'di ba? Yun yung concept ng sunk cost eh. Ang nangyari ngayon sa decision mo, yung store na una mong pinuntahan, dahil nabayaran mo na yung 2K as reservation fee, 48,000 na lang supposedly yung babayaran mo. So at the instant na nandun ka sa second store, you're now comparing a 48,000 peso bicycle versus a 49,000 peso bicycle. Wala na sa consideration natin yung 2K na initial na binayaran mo as reservation. 'Di ba? Or tama din yung naging analogy mo dito, parang pag binili mo yung 49,000, para kang nagbayad ng total of 51K for that bicycle. Yeah. So I hope that clarifies, that clearly answers the question. All right. So if the concept of sunk cost is clear, can I get a joy react? Kita niyo ba yung joy? Yung parang laughing while crying na react. Yan. Okay, medyo naguguluhan pa ata yung iba. No? So if the concept of sunk cost is clear, can I get a joy react, please? And or if you have questions, do not hesitate to send a message via the chat box. Ang tanong ni Jake, kapag ganun po, hindi po ba nagiging relevant din yung sunk cost? Hindi na siya relevant. I mean, hindi mo na siya gagamitin for consideration dun sa decision mo. Parang pwede mo na siyang i-disregard, no? Kaya nga ang sabi ko, at the point na nandun ka sa second store, it's now a decision of whether you would spend 48,000 or 49,000. Wala na yung 2,000 kasi nagastos mo na siya. Yes, is that clear? I hope clear. So, yes, next tayo, the slide. So ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. No? So, what about the money, time, effort I've already poured into this? No? Some thoughts to ponder on. And sa nasa slide. So yun, sunk cost, ito yung tinatawag natin sunk cost fallacy. Now, kung clear sa atin yung mga general cost concepts, I think we can now proceed to cost estimation methods. Alright, so okay na kayo to proceed to cost estimation methods class? If you're ready to proceed, can I get a heart react? Ayan, mukhang most of you are already ready to proceed. No? So when estimating cost, ang ginagawa natin, ito, mag-konting tayo, cost estimation exercise. So, ano lang tayo, tingnan lang natin kung mag-price is right tayo. So this is a 3-story, 12-classroom building to be built in Sariaya, Quezon. It has a total floor area of 1,311 and the standard finish. How much do you think this would cost? Type lang sa chat box. 1,311 na square meter yung floor area. Tingin nyo magkano yung cost ng project? Approximate. Okay, may mga nakikita na ako. Higher, I think. Higher than your current guesses. Sobrang laki naman yung 1.2 billion. Ano na? Masyado na ring malaki yan. No? So, this project costs 32 million. Approximately. Ayan, 32 million. No, so, ayan, nakuha ni Ron yung, no, yung cost natin. Babalikan natin mamaya kung paano nyo in-estimate yung cost nito. Ito kaya, how much do you think this costs? $1 million talaga. Pinag-time ng 1 million. Actually, kinuha ko lang yung costing nito sa sa kapatid ko, no. So my sister has a pastry business called Disaccharide. Kinuha ko yung yung cost niya for this. So hindi siya yung retail price, but rather the the cost of making it. No, so nung tinignan ko, nasa 120 yung ginamit niya. So I think marami nang malapit, no, so mga 800 pesos. Ito naman kaya. Ay, sorry. So meron tayong tatlong types of cost estimation techniques. So yung una, analogous estimation, pangalawa, parametric estimation, pangatlo, bottom-up estimation. Now, which cost estimation technique or method should we use? Nakadepende yan dun sa ano nga yung purpose natin for the estimation. No? So, analogous cost estimation, with this method, what we do is we estimate the costs um, based on another project's cost. No? So, ang root word nito, yun nga, analogy. So, parang sinasabi natin is project A, which has this following characteristics, costs ganito, then new project Z, which is approximately ganito in scale compared to A, should cost this much. No? So yeah, kunyari, nag-isip ako ng madaling analogy. So for instance, for instance, meron kang isang housing project na 100 square meters. Alam mo na, or siguro condo fit out project na 30 square meters yung So it costs approximately 600,000 pesos, no, para dun sa finish. And let's say meron tayong panibagong project pero mas maliit, 20 square meters lang yung condo, no. So by analogy, kung yung 30 square meters we spend approximately 600,000, then pwede natin sabihin yung 20 square meter baka nasa mga 450 to 500,000 lang siya. No, dahil mas maliit siya. No? So basically, ang ginagawa natin sa analogous estimation is we use or we compare the scales of the two projects in order for us to be able to estimate the cost of a project which we have to get the cost for. All right. So analogous estimation is not very accurate, but this is very useful when we need very quick estimates. All right. So that's analogous estimation. Magagamit din natin to kung wala tayong direct data na pwedeng magamit, and we do not have luxury of time to work on developing an intricate na cost estimating method. Pangalawa naman, parametric estimation. So parametric cost estimation, dito gumagamit tayo ng mga main cost drivers which we call parameters, and we use statistical correlations from previous data so that we can develop models or equations relating the cost with the cost drivers. So one very simple example of parametric cost estimation is the pairs per square meter costing sa construction. No? So which is a simple single parameter cost estimation technique. No? So yun, parang tinanong ka, magkano kaya patayo ng bahay ko? Gusto ko ng 100 square meter na bahay. Ganito kasi yung kada square meter na tinatayong bahay, typically ganitong kalaki, ganito 25,000 per square meter yung cost natin. So say yung house mo would possibly cost say 2.5 million. You know? No? So a parametric cost estimation may actually produce some highly accurate results if it's backed with extensive data. All right. And then bottom-up cost estimation naman, when we do bottom-up estimation, we estimate all the costs of the component comprising the project, and then we sum it up. So tinitingnan natin lahat ng parts and then we sum it up to get the whole. So this is time consuming, it requires extensive data collection, but if done correctly, it yields the most accurate estimate. So for instance, dito sa natin sa carrot cake natin kanina, we can easily use yung bottom-up estimation kasi konti lang yung mga components niya. Diba? So kung meron ka nung recipe niya, madali mo lagyan ng costing kada part dun sa recipe. No? So yeah, yun namang sa una example natin kanina, the easiest way to get a quick estimate of that would be to use parametric estimation, specifically yung per square meter costing. With the per square meter costing, you can say, kunyari, 30,000 per square meter, typically yung naging cost ng mga public school buildings ngayon. And binigay sa atin yung floor area niya, then you can already compute a rough estimate of how much it would cost. So yun nga, yung top-down estimates such as yung analogous estimation, maganda siyang gamitin for preliminary analysis of screening, conceptual and feasibility study, pero you would need bottom-up as you go closer to the implementation of the project. Let's say for bids, yan. Or for budgeting, kailangan mo na mas refine mo. So yun yung pinagkaiba nila. Yung nasa left end of the spectrum, analogous, when we need quick estimates. Yung nasa kabilang end of the spectrum, when we need accurate estimates. Is everything clear so far? If clear naman, can I get a thumbs up? Okay. Sige, then I think we can already proceed. Ito yung medyo mas mahirap, estimating project benefits. I think sa project nyo, ito yung mas challenging na part. Madali mag-estimate ng cost. Pero yung benefits kasi, some of them, inisip natin, no? Marami siyang non-monetary na mga benefits which we try to evaluate anyway so that we can justify the project. So when we estimate benefits, what we need to do is to compare the with and without project scenario. So what would change if we implement the project, or what would improve? No? So let's say, how much will the performance improve if we push through with the project? And then next, identify other possible outcomes. No? So ang isang project, meron niyang mga co-outcomes or even some unintended results. No? So kasama yun sa binaevaluate natin. What other outcomes, whether positive or negative, may result with the implementation of the project? And then how do these translate into monetary terms? So for instance, kunyari sa mga equipment or system upgrade, pwede nating ma-quantify yung benefit by, let's say, sabi natin, okay, kapag nag-upgrade tayo, kapag pinalitan natin yung then you're able to increase yung speed nung machine, no? Pero hindi yun yung madaling i-quantify na benefit, 'di ba? Kailangan nating tignan yung how it would impact yung cash flow. No, so with increased speed, for instance, we're able to produce more, and therefore that translates into higher revenue. Yeah. When we say, okay, this upgrade would improve product quality, then how do we translate that into worth, no? So improved product quality could mean that we can sell it for a higher price. So yun yung quantifiable na benefit. Eventually would translate into higher revenue. How about reduced defect rate? No, so with reduced defect rate, pwede natin siya tignan on the perspective of, say, we would have more sellable products, no? Dahil nga reduced yung defect rate, and therefore higher yung revenue natin. Or kung demand naman yung fixed, no? Then we save on the material, we save on the wastage. Or isa pa, if it's energy efficient, then we save on the cost because of less power usage. Diba? So these are a few examples, no, kung paano natin tinatranslate into quantifiable terms. No? Kasi increased speed, mahirap siyang i-factor in dun sa benefit cost analysis or sa cash flow. No? So we need to get a good approach kung paano natin siya ba translate into cash flows. Pero yung mas complicated, no, if you're looking at infrastructural solutions, it delves into the space of valuating non-monetary benefits, no. Pero I would say na marami ng mga studies kayo makikita nito, looking to journals, ano yung worth ng clean air, ganyan, no. So environmental impact. I have a friend who studied how much the protection of corals, no, would be worth. So may mga ganong study na. Even for traffic, with traffic studies, I think typically derive yan with from a couple of things, no. So if people get stuck in traffic, then there's lost productivity. Diba? There's lost productivity, there's higher fuel consumption, and then there's yung mga damage to perishable goods. No? So I think yun yung pinanggalingan ng mga kaya merong mga studies na kaya mag-valuate, okay, how much would getting stuck in traffic for 5 minutes be worth? Ganyan. O magkano kaya yung, di ba, there are articles putting value dun sa gaano kalaki yung nawawala natin dahil sa super traffic sa EDSA. Yeah. No? And so yan, pwede rin na-evaluate na rin ngayon yung, say, access to basic services like water, healthcare, education. No? So if you provide water or potable water to a community, ano-ano yung mga translatable na mga benefits niya. So, for instance, yung nga, if you provide potable water to a community, pwede nating tignan, una, reduce na or additional productive time sa mga tao kasi hindi na nila kailangan mag-give elsewhere. No? So that's one. Pangalawa, improved na health or reduced waterborne diseases sa community. So yun, more easily quantifiable yun, etc. No, for risk management projects, what are the risks that we try to avoid? Speaking of risks, no, siguro I can give you a bit of examples kung paano ginagawa or an overview of how we are able to analyze economically yung benefits, for instance, ng seismic retrofitting. No? So yun. So we all know na yung Metro Manila is traversed by the West Valley Fault. Aware ba kayo doon? Sino taga Metro Manila dito? Taas ng kamay. Ay, hindi pa. Thumbs up na lang. May taga Metro Manila ba dito? I think marami na. So Metro Manila is traversed by the West Valley Fault, which has a capacity to trigger a 7.2 magnitude, a magnitude 7.2 earthquake, which we call the Big One. So such a strong earthquake would possibly translate into an intensity 8 or an intensity 9 na ground shaking. And therefore, posibleng malaki yung impact niya dun sa mga structures natin, particularly the old ones. So one of the means para mabawasan natin yung risk is to do seismic retrofitting. Ang ibig sabihin ng seismic retrofitting, we try to strengthen the building and make it comply with the current standards para mas malaki yung earthquake resistance niya. Such a project would entail a lot of cost, and all infrastructural projects, as you may know, have to be evaluated by NEDA at sila yung nag-approve nito. Ang ginagawa ng NEDA when evaluating it is to check kung yung benefits ba actually outweigh the costs. No, so yun. Pero mahirap evaluate yung mga benefits nito, no. So in one of our projects, ang ginagawa namin actually is to help DPWH try to evaluate yung cost nga nung o yung worth yung value nung mga benefits niya. So for instance, meron tayong tatlong pwedeng tignan na benefit streams. So yung una, it's yung the safety of occupants, students and teachers. And we can possibly calculate that by una, how many occupants are there during would possibly be there when an earthquake happens, no? Pangalawa, what is the risk? What is the risk? Or what is the probability of someone getting injured or getting mortally injured in the event of an earthquake? So with that, pwede tayo makakuha ng parang statisticalized, no? Ano yung chance of dying or getting injured in an earthquake. Tapos, we multiply it. Ito yung medyo contentious. How do we value life? Ang ginagamit sa insurance is it's called VSL or the QALY, Quality Adjusted Life Years. No? And in the Philippines, based on studies, ang valuation nila is $611,000 or approximately 30 million pesos. So, ito yung ginagamit. So you multiply life risk versus times, you multiply life risk with the 611,000 and you get a risk valuation. Diba? Ano pa yung possible na outcome ng project? Avoided building damage. If we strengthen the building, then we get we would possibly get less damage. So how much would it cost? So ang dyan, parang opportunity cost ito pero in the reverse order. So how much would it cost to repair the building if we do not retrofit it? So basically ganun yung opportunity cost approach tayo dito. Avoided disruptions, ganun din eh. If we do not retrofit the building, then how much disruption do we expect? And what would be its economic impact? No? So we would only include the benefits that could reasonably be attributed to the project. Typically, yung direct benefits lang yung tinitignan. Kasi syempre, if you go for indirect benefits, minsan basta ma-connect lang. But basically, this is an example of how we do benefits valuation. All right, I guess that's my last slide. Yeah, if there are questions, feel free to raise them. And Sir Amiel, Sir Julius, and Sir Heli would be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
May question daw pala, sirs, no? Saan naka-upload yung mga synchronous recording? Nilalagay natin doon sa ano, kung nasa naka-upload yung slides. So nandun siya sa ano, nandun siya sa description ng slide. I'm typically able to upload it the day after, so bukas ko siya ma-upload. Tapos may question, will there be sample outputs for the milestone requirements? But the first milestone requirements, ang hinihingi lang would be basically the problem that you wish to work on, di ba? Plus ano yung mga solutions that you thought of. At saka yung dimensions, mga basic considerations. So, baka kahit free format lang yun. Sige, go ahead, Sir Rabiel.
Pwede siguro if you have questions, mag-breakout na lang po tayo per section. And then, ayun po, doon tayo mag-discuss.
Yeah, pwede din yan.
Opo.
Last na lang, Sir Amiel, no? Ito may question
ahead,
na related sa lesson. What if mas mababa yung benefit compared sa cost? Does it mean po na i-forgo yung retrofitting? The answer is yes. No? So, ang requirement ng NEDA is that the benefits should outweigh the cost. By the way, no, hindi siya direct na ganun lang siya, benefits divided by greater than cost. Kino-consider din kasi natin yung time value of money, kailan mag-occur yung benefits, kailan mag-occur yung cost, etc. That we'll learn in the subsequent lessons. Yeah. So I guess pwede na tayong pahabol na, yes, tama, no? Yung down payment in the bike example earlier is considered a past transaction. Yes, kasi na ano na siya. Tapos na siya. Na-spend mo na siya. So we don't consider it as part of the analysis anymore. Sunk cost na siya. Yeah. Yeah, I think pwede na tayong mag-breakout session. Thank you everyone for listening to today's synchronous lecture.